I think letting someone else take care of your education, of your learning, and be responsible for your development is boring. It's quite naive and, frankly, foolish. It's something that you need to be in charge of developing yourself, of learning new things, and most prominently, upskilling. I've been in charge of my own upskilling for the last 10 years. And I know that I've learned a couple of things about how I work with finding things to do, finding new skills to put into my arsenal, but also some thoughts that I think are pretty universal. Those are what I wanted to share today. This is Caspian with a riff on upskilling. The first question that I get asked when I tell people about my quite ferocious pursuit of upskilling, how I take classes, how I read, how I try to grasp new concepts and skills. First question is always, how do you have time? How do you do it? It happened just a week ago when I told a friend that I'm taking a Python course. What I do is I make it a priority. It might sound very simple. It is stupidly simple. But I make it a priority in my life. I carve out the time that I need to do the Python courses. For me, that means getting up an hour early and get to work an hour early to have some alone time in the morning to start my day off with studying. In my case, that means getting up at 4:30 instead of 5:30, and it means being in office at 5:40, depending on trains and traffic. That's what works for me. I'm a morning person. I love getting up ridiculously early. It works great for me. My brain is at the peak in the morning. I know that that's not for everyone. I have very few friends who get up before 6. I have a lot of friends who, if they can, will sleep in. Again, that's what works for me. Making it a priority. In my case, starting the day with it. I've tried to do it in the afternoon. In my particular situation right now, that didn't work. My brain is fried when I get home at 6, 7 in the evening. At other times, I've carved out time during the day. I've carved out time in the evenings, depending on my cycle at the moment and depending on other circumstances, other people in my life. As of now, waking up an hour early, making it a priority that way works. But I recognize it might not work for you. Finding your way of making it a priority, finding a way of carving out the time, if that's after the kids have gone to sleep, if that is waking up an hour early, if that is skipping lunch break, taking that in front of your computer, doesn't really matter. It really doesn't. Making it a priority to get after the skill that you want in whatever form or way that you want to get it. You have to make it a priority. The second thing people tend to ask me is how do I get this skill? When I've decided what skill to get, how do I get it? And for me, that's very diverse. In some circumstances, I've had to because my job demanded it. Sometimes it's been pure pleasure. I just delved into a topic or a skill or something to do for an entire weekend, sometimes months at end. Sometimes it's something that I get in my head that I would be good at or that I would enjoy, and I try it. I try to be as practical as possible, apply it, learn about it. Sometimes that's taking online courses. Like now with coding, I've tried to do that via YouTube. I've tried to do that via friends. It hasn't worked out. I found a couple of courses that really do. I have a couple of projects that I know that, okay, I have this idea of what I want to do, and I know that that's going to be my end goal with either one of these courses. I'm not going to stop at the final exam. My goal is to, in this case, convert my Apple Health data to something that's useful for me. How I acquire the information and the knowledge and put the skill into practice varies a lot. Sometimes it's reading books, sometimes it's going to a therapist, sometimes it's having a coach. Again, courses. It doesn't really matter to me. I just find a way to acquire the skill and make sure I put it into practice. That's the most important thing. That I use it regularly and that I try to do that. Find ways of incorporating it into my everyday life or start doing things differently so that I can incorporate it into my daily life. The last thing I want to say about upskilling and acquiring new knowledge and putting it into practice is something that's been a buzz in my bubbles for quite some time, and it's compounding or finding a uniqueness. I'll try to find a visual that does this splendidly. But basically what I think of myself as a unique set of skills.
But what I do have are a very particular set of skills.
I try to build on so that I'm not going a generic route and I don't become one of the many. That when I find my function, I use a variety of skills, a variety of functions that makes it virtually or close to impossible for anyone else to combine those skills because they don't have that set of skills. So I try to, if I'm being strategic about my skills, I try to go after skills that combine well with the other skills that I have. Again, an example, Python right now that I'm taking. I've done some database work. I would love to get into a more techie niche of some kind. I want to work more closely with tech. But I also know that there are very few software engineers that are also behavioral scientists. And I know that there are very few software engineers that have the coaching background that I have. And all of these things combined make it so that I'll be able to productize myself, at least in my head, in a way that no one else can replicate it. Not easily, at least. There are not going to be many people who know some Python, some marketing, some behavioral science, and that have read the set of books that I've read, that have the experiences that I have. Hence, I'm going to become unique. I think that compounds over time. If I keep adding on skills, to a certain point at least, it's going to become a compounding effect where I'm going to be irreplaceable or at least highly valuable to someone else, to society, to a group of people, to my employer, whoever it is, to an extent where it's just going to take off at some point. That's how I think about upskilling. I'm very rarely this strategic about it. I don't do it this intently. I have a list of things that I want to do and a list of skills that I want to acquire. And most of it is based on gut feeling and chances. I stumbled over the 100 Days of Code course at Replit. And now is the time. I could carve out the time. I could make it a priority. I wanted to make it a priority. I needed a project for myself. So I jumped on it. Instead of going into writing a poetry book or my novel or my book that I've been writing on for about a year. I pick these skills and the upskilling procedures and projects very much based on gut. It all comes from within, an innate drive to develop. And I know that's not the same for everyone. That's why I'm saying it. You need to find your why and your driver. You need to make it a priority. And then you can be very strategic about the skills that you try to acquire. By compounding and making yourself unique. These are some of the thoughts that I have on upskilling. I would love to hear yours. As always, I'll write some show notes. Please do check them out. Subscribe anywhere you want. And I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.